everybody. Welcome to America's Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. You know, there's been a lot going on out there in this election year, and it's just been getting kind of stranger and stranger as we go, right? I mean, how can we not think about politics right now? You know, it is what it is. You know, as much as some people don't like to talk about politics, some people do, and you know, this can affect either us for the next 4 years. So we have to figure out exactly if everything's going to be safe to do so, right? So anyway, welcome everybody to America's Podcast. We are live right now on Spreaker, on the audio podcast, and you'll catch this later on after this podcast today on Apple Podcasts. You'll catch it on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google, all those cool ones. You'll find America's Podcast on there as well. We have a lot to talk about today, and just a lot of different things to get off our minds today. And you know, it's politics is a very strange thing, right? Because they're playing with our money, first of all, right? Basically, that's all it is. Each state, each representative kind of just plays with your money that comes in through taxes and through the cities, and then I'll combine it all in one large tax amount to where they use it for the schools, they use it for this, they use it for, you know, what emergency and everything like that that's happening. Right now, our prayers out to the East Coast right now, because they just had a major hurricane that just hit out there down in Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, all those areas got hit pretty hard, man, and it hit them all at one shot. So our prayers go out to you guys. And also, I can't forget this. I want to thank all the everybody that's in the military: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, National Guard, Space Force, all you guys that are out there that help America be safe. Thank you for your service, and thank you for the ultimate sacrifice as well. You know, our flag is a national one, and we should always represent that with pride and always keep that flag in your heart, because it was fought for with many blood, sweat, and tears, and many lives were sacrificed so we can be free. Now, going forward, you know, we're talking about the politics, and today we're going to be talking about the voting machines, you know, what they're actually about. Now, so we all know that the Harris and the Trump campaigns have been going neck and neck at each other, you know, which that's what they do, right? And they always throw different kind of ads back and forth at each other, which, hey, they're going to do what they can in order to win the election, right? So this person is not doing this right, this person's not doing this right. And the reason I'm getting into that right now is because I'm gonna bring something to the forefront right now. I want you to hear this. These were some poll analysts that had came out on CNN, and they were actually giving their opinions, right, on polls that were out there. So let's listen in on this one that just came from CNN. It's about a minute and 40 seconds, but I think it's well worth it. It shows both sides of the candidates and what these two people or how they talk about it. So let's go ahead and listen to this real quick.
Like on Newsnight. Okay. I want to talk about Vice President Harris giving this economic speech today. We've seen the polls. She trails Donald Trump in the latest CNN poll by 11 points on who can best handle the economy. It's tighter than it was, and other polls show it even tighter than that. Right. But you get the sense that she wants to close the gap even more. What does she need to say to do that, Karen?
Well, clearly she needs to talk a little bit more about her economic agenda. Voters are saying we want to hear more about it. But I'll say overall, the challenge that she has is there enough time? Because if you look at the movement in the polls, she moved voters 13 points in like the first 30 days, but she had to make up ground from where Biden was. And she's got momentum, but can they keep that over the next 6 weeks to get where they need to be with voters by voting day? And by the way, people are already starting to vote. So continuing that momentum, continuing to respond to what voters are saying they want to hear, I think she's got, you know, a great conversation to have with the American voters about the economy. So
I see you nodding in agreement. This definitely isn't nighttime.
I mean, look, she's got a major problem. It's Joe Biden and the fact that she's his vice president. In our CNN survey yesterday, 51% of registered voters said that Trump had a successful presidency. Only 37% said the same about Biden and Harris. A lot of that has to do with the economy, and it mostly has to do with inflation. And so she's yet to look into a television camera and say, here are 2 or 3 things that Joe Biden did that I disagreed with, and I would do it differently, and I've learned from that. She's effectively running on a continuation of the same. People don't like the same, and they remember Trump better. I don't know how you expect to win under those circumstances.
Okay, so there's the 2 analysts that were talking both about both candidates, right? And I just wanted to bring this to the forefront because I want you guys to make sure that this is an unbiased platform where we're on right now, and I want you guys to understand that whoever you vote for can affect your livelihood for the next 4 years. Is it going to be is it going to be somebody that knows economics? Is it going to be somebody with the border security? Is it going to be somebody about abortion issues? Is it going to be somebody that, in other words, which one is going to affect your life for the next 4 years? In other words, on 90 or 100% of your life as it goes, right? So, and these are the candidates that we have to look at each other, look at analysts, like this was on a CNN poll that you just heard a second ago. And, they're just trying to figure out, okay, what is going to be the best end result for both of these candidates? And both of these analysts, had their own basic opinions on what they were talking about. Now, when we talk about voting machines, right? I mean, since the last voting with President Trump, right, in 2020, there seemed to be a lot of questions that were asked about the voting machines because they felt like there was like the voting machines were hacked in some ways. The security of the machines were questioned. In other words, what I'm trying to say here, right? And this was in 2020. A lot of them were trying to get the gist of the information that they were trying to find out about these voting machines. Now, there are different types of voting machines out there. If you guys didn't know, so there's not just one kind. I mean, there's one for the elections that we're using, yes, but they're all different kinds, and they're almost all electronic, right? So there's optimal scanners, which these are the ones that scan ballots, with tabulators, and they use like a barcode, and what that does is that actually picks up what you're gonna be voting at the time. There's direct recording systems, right? So it's direct recording electronic. In other words, it just means that you're just pushing the button and it's giving you the direct answer to who you voted for, what you voted for. It could be a proposition. It could be something like that, right? Not necessarily a candidate. Could be a proposition. So, and there's ballot marketing devices, right? Marking devices. In other words, you make your mark. This is how it works, right? For some places that people just want a different kind of feel of a voting machine. There's hybrid voting machines as well, right? So, and these only have 2 functions. They allow voters at the ballot, and they tabulate ballots, right? So, in other words, it kind of gives you the final number at the end of that voting machine, and you'll get the number, right? So, there's that kind. There's punch card voting systems. Now, I don't know if people still use those. I doubt it. But, these are just the type of equipment that there is out there as far as these voting machines. Now, the voting machines that we are using today, they're called Dominion, right? The Dominion voting machine is what we've been using since, I believe, 2016 or something like that. But I'm not too sure. I'm going to have to read into that just a little bit deeper. But this is it's made from the Dominion Voting Systems Corporation, which is here in North America, and they produce a lot of electronic voting hardware and software that's in these machines, and there's tabulators, and they also do some for Canada as well as the United States, right? So these machines, are used all over, of course, these 2 countries right now, because they have like a electronic, and then they have optical scanning. I'm sorry, and so which is able to use, and it tabulates paper ballots, right? So in other words, slide the paper in there, and it gives you the reading, right? Which is great, right? That works, and it seems to be on its mark, and it hit its target. So this is why they're using these machines in the United States and for these elections that are coming up. Now, do you trust these machines? That's the thing, right? Are they secure enough? and that there was of course a conspiracy theory since the 2020 with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, where they were saying that these were falsely alleged tabulators were in there and it wasn't working right, yada yada yada. Here we go. So and they decided to make it into a conspiracy theory, which was actually it was worked on in the background, right? But we didn't really hear too much about it in the news. Not unless you're a news junkie like me. If you're a news junkie, you were hearing about it a lot every day since the allegations came up at the time during the 2020 elections, right? Which, of course, Donald Trump did not concede to that election because he felt like it was stolen from him. And to each their own, whether that was a good thing or a bad thing for him to do that, but did it hurt him? I don't know. I don't know if it did or it didn't. And then it kind of puts that little seed in your mind. Do you trust these machines to do the tabulations that it's supposed to do, right? As far as the number gathering and scanning these paper ballots that we are filling out. And, just like back in the day when we would, when we were in school, you just mark out with a pencil, a little X or whatever, or mark a little box, and it had to be in the box, just like your Powerball and those machines. Basically, it's the same concept. It just has to read it, right? To read it correctly in order to know. And if not, you have to manually put the actual vote in if it didn't read it correctly, if you were outside the lines, whatever, right? So there was a big old lawsuit against that in that campaign, right? And there was Giuliani, and everybody was seeking like 1.3 billion of damages, right, to Dominion for that on its website for what they thought was a bad reading that was coming from these machines, right? And it came out that no, that there was nothing wrong with these machines, that it actually read correctly, and of course, the allegations, everything kind of went downhill from that day forward, right? And a lot of these news organizations that were talking about it, they had to retract their accusations on their news articles because of that. It was proven that it was not true, right? Like Dominion filed lawsuits about 1.6 billion damages from Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, and because of the allegations of what was happening, but it was dismissed, right? And of course, it didn't go forward any time there, but Dominion still won $787.5 million. After that, they ended up going forward to trial, and there it was. So they ended up getting their money. Some more on top of what they get from the United States of America for making the equipment and using the equipment, right? How much does that equipment cost, really, in reality, right? And we always ask ourselves, okay, what does that equipment cost? Since it's so secure, what does it cost? And I have a couple of numbers here for you. And it says Congress provided $380 million in 2018 to make sure that these machines were secure, right? So, and then the following year, they put another $425 million into 2020s to make sure these machines were secure, right? And this is what it's been costing since 2016, mind you. Okay. So the numbers have been going up and up, as far as because of the cyber threats. We were having a lot of cyber threats. People were saying, hey man, if these things are going through the internet, people can pretty much, hack. There's a lot of hackers out there. I don't know if you know this, but they're constantly hitting our systems, right? I mean, what happened this past year? They hit AT&T. They hit a lot of these power stations or these power grids. They were hitting places, but this was coming from Russia, right? These hackers. So why not be able to hack into something like that? And but in 2022 and 2023, the Fed lowered those amounts to about 75 million for both. Okay, for both of those years, as far as to replace outdated equipment. Now that's a lot of money. Okay, that are going into these machines, right? But I mean, how do we make sure that these machines are taken care of? Now, with that much amount of money, what basically that's paying for, it's paying for people that are monitoring these machines. There's secured people that are monitoring the input and output of these machines, right? Which in other words, there's something in between that line from that machine to the line to the counter, right? In other words, there's a middleman here, and which is like a security guard. You're not going to pass through here until I approve it. Then you can go ahead and pass through, right? So these are the high amounts of money that they're paying for these machines and people and extra software and millions and billions of dollars to make sure that they don't get hacked. Now, who's to say that a lot of these machines from these power grid stations, that they don't have, the ultimate software, for hacking, or our security in the United States does not have these ultimate machines that pay millions and possibly billions of dollars for security, right? To make sure that nothing breaks in, but they still got in. This is my question, right? This is my question to everything. Nothing is 100% secure, right? So you know how these go. You got 99.9% that this is secure. Well, how about that 0.1? So they can't actually give you that 100% because something or somebody will sneak into that back door, right? And they will figure out exactly how to get through these machines. Now, do you trust the system enough for that? That's the other thing, right? Now, and they've questioned a lot of these voting machines in news articles, things like that. So let's go ahead and show you this small 2-minute. It's about 2 minutes about voting machines and the security of these voting machines, and just to see if it's secure enough. Here we go.
Security. Now to Decision 2024. Tonight, we are verifying a question about voting security, specifically about the voting machines after the so-called election audit. 12 News journalist William Pitts is verifying that for us tonight.
Our question comes from 12 News viewer Kristen Bollock, who asks, are our voting machines safe after cyber ninjas did their inspection of our voting machines in Maricopa County? There was no fraud found in the 2020 election, but could cyber ninjas have done something nefarious to our voting machines? Let's verify. Our sources are the Maricopa County Recorder's Office and the Arizona Secretary of State's office. First, a couple of years, the Cyber Ninjas was a company contracted by Arizona Senate Republicans to do an audit of the 2020 election in Maricopa County. It was the beginning of the false idea that the election was stolen or otherwise corrupted. Cyber Ninjas had no experience or qualifications to run an election audit.
Our specialty is in application security.
That's CEO Doug Logan, who eventually lost the company. But during the so-called audit, Senate Republicans forced the county to give Cyber Ninjas their voting equipment. Those machines are highly guarded and protected. Once they were out of the county's control, then Secretary of State Katie Hobbs told the county commissioners the state would not recertify them. She wrote, a loss of custody constitutes a cyber incident to critical infrastructure.
Any election equipment that is handled by anybody outside of Maricopa County has the ability to be damaged or broken. And in order to ensure that these machines were not damaged in a way that we weren't aware of, we felt it was necessary to replace them.
Jennifer Lewer is the Deputy Elections Director for Maricopa County. She says the county replaced all of the machines that the Cyber Ninjas had access to.
These machines are not connected to the internet. This is about both the quality of the machine, ensuring there isn't damage or any broken pieces, but also about ensuring that we have public trust, that we know that these machines are going to calculate ballots accurately.
It cost the county $2.8 million, and nearly 400 machines were replaced. So we can verify, no, the Cyber Ninja audit could not have done anything to the voting machines because they're all new machines.
All right. So they're all new machines, in that article that it was talking about that, about the cyber ninjas and all that stuff, so, and because people were questioning the security of it, of these machines, right? Who's not questioning these things? I have it in the back of my mind. People just don't trust the system anymore, man. And that's basically what it's coming to, and if you do trust the system, well, I don't know what to tell you, but I question everything, right? This is my motto of everything. I question everything because sometimes everything isn't what it seems to be, right? Because, of course, news can hide a lot of different things, behind the veil, and they can make sure that we actually don't see transparency of what things really are, right? And there are states out there that have been hiding a lot of this voting, kind of this transparency that I didn't even know about, right? That some people were not allowed to vote in some certain states because of a driver's license issue, mind you, right? And such state, one state as Arizona. Now, this happened to them last year or a while back, and they were trying to figure out how to fix this issue. And I'm going to show you why here real quick. Listen to this, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to voting. Now, make sure that when you sign up for your driver's license, that you fill out all the forms, that you're an American citizen. Even if you're not, make sure you fill it out correctly. Make sure you're a legal citizen, and even if you're just getting a driver's license, make sure that you have all the information in there on the voting, so that way they'll know exactly how to put you in the system for voting, because there's some places where you can still vote. You just can't vote on larger elections. You can vote on small city or independent stuff, right? So here it goes. Let's listen to this real quick. This happened in Arizona. Let's check it out.
By the Maricopa County Recorder's Office could affect tens of thousands of voters in November. Last week, they found nearly 100,000 people who were allowed to register to vote, never having shown proof of U.S. citizenship. And now, the Maricopa County Recorder's Office is suing the Arizona Secretary of State and asking the state Supreme Court to determine if they can vote the full ballots in the election. Fox 10's Ashley Rodriguez is live now to break down what happened here. Ashley.
This error happened in every county across the state since 2004. 2 decades. Now, the problem, it's an easy fix. The MVD needed to recode their software. In fact, they already did that. The problem is fixed. But the question is now, how do we treat those 98,000 people before the 2024 election? That's just 48 days away.
This isn't a comfortable position to be in by any stretch.
Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes says he will respond to the Maricopa County Recorder's lawsuit on Wednesday. The Recorder's Office is suing him, claiming to have found more than 98,000 people who were allowed to vote the full ballot in Arizona for 2 decades when they never showed proof of U.S. citizenship. Here's what happened. If a driver received a license prior to 1996, there was no proof of citizenship in the Motor Vehicle Division records. Since 2004, Arizona requires a voter provide documented proof of citizenship. So if a driver with an older license registers to vote, the MVD thinks they have proof of citizenship in the system and allows them to vote a full ballot. Keep in mind, the recorder says the majority of these voters are most likely U.S. citizens. They just don't have documented proof. The largest group of them are Republicans, followed by independents and Democrats.
All right. So now you get the logistics of what had happened there in Arizona. And so it was a fluke, something that happened in their systems during their driver's the DPS that was out there and making sure the information. Now, a lot of this stuff happened if you've had a license since 1996. How does that happen though? Even before that, I know, because I've had my license for a long time now, my driver's license, and I've had a Class A, Class B, Class C. I've driven 18-wheelers, things like that. Now, how do you make a mistake like that to where, it's always been about voting and getting it right? So apparently, there was somebody did something bad, right? And it happens. It does happen, to some of these places, but it was for years and years and years, right? These people couldn't vote properly, right? And then, or they were voting, but then they shouldn't have. Some of them, right? And that was the issue. Now, did they get that issue resolved? That was the key question, right? And I'm going to give you the answer right here. Here's the answer to it. And let's just listen to this real quick.
Thanks for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Ellen McNamara. The state Supreme Court has just ruled that nearly 98,000 people whose citizenship documents had not been confirmed can vote in all races during the November election. So that means federal, state, and local. The court's decision comes after the Office of the Maricopa County Recorder uncovered a database error that for 2 decades mistakenly had designated these people as having access to the full ballot. Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richer sued the Secretary of State's office to get clarification and asked the High Court to weigh in quickly to resolve the matter. Well, the court ruled that county officials lack the authority to change the status of these voters. Again, they had been on the books for some time. These are, generally speaking, older voters. Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richer, who originally sued, said on social media, "Thank you, Arizona Supreme Court, for your extremely quick and professional review of this matter."
So they won it, right? And now these people are able to vote comfortably all across the board, right? Local, state, and federal, right? So they're able to do all those voting procedures to get their vote, right? This is what America's about. This is the freedoms that we do and everything that we do as Americans. And that's the big thing, right? Are you able to vote freely? Yes and no, right? So, and then how do we fix this? Well, this is exactly how they fixed it in that state. Now, is there other states that are probably going through that? Yeah, probably is. But eventually, they'll get it worked out to where it'll probably come down to a court order date, and they'll have to get that fixed up. I don't know if it's going to happen before the elections. These people were trying to do before the elections. Apparently, they got it through pretty darn quick. So, which is an amazing thing. All right. Well, let's just take a real quick break right now, and I'll get back to you here in just a minute. All right, guys, welcome back. So, we were talking about these machines and what they're about, and if we did trust these machines, do we or don't we? I don't know, man. I'm still kind of iffy and anty about it. I mean, we still can't get our own driver's license issues taken care of. Anything that's computerized, man, I hate to say it, but have you had like a Windows machine, or they get the blue screen of death, or you just get a glitch in your Apple system too, and it's kind of just throwing flags everywhere? It's gonna happen, man. And unfortunately, when it did happen, it happened to these larger systems, and this is what we're afraid of as far as the voting booths and the voting machines. There's thousands of these machines, maybe millions of these machines out there. How do we know that we're not going to get a bad one, or 2 bad ones here, or 3 bad ones, or how do we know somebody's going to trip over the plug, right, and unplug it, right, and it goes bonkers? Hey, we're not going to know. We're not going to know. And can somebody win by 1,000 votes? You know what I mean? And then we needed those 1,000 votes, and that one machine just took a crap on everything that just happened. This is how close this race is. This is why I brought the beginning of these 2 candidates in the polls and these people that were analyzing these polls to kind of give you an idea how close this race is going to be, and how important it is for these machines to be accurate and not fumble, right? And even as for the people that are feeding these machines. Now, remember, we were in the 2020, they were finding people that were grabbing these boxes of these ballots, and they were putting them in trash bags, and they found some people guilty of that. I saw it, and even somebody came out this year that they arrested as well for doing that same thing 3 years ago. Okay, so this was happening. behind the scenes. It's just that you don't hear about it because, you know, we have a busy lifestyle. I get it. This is what happens. But and this is what I'm getting at is, are there people out there watching these people that are inserting these polls, these paper ballots and everything into these machines to get that right count? Are we getting every single ballot that's coming through? And who's watching that person? In other words, somebody needs to watch that person. Another person needs to watch this person, right? Just to make sure it gets done right? Without any bias, right? It has to be an unbiased person who doesn't go for either side and wants to make sure that there's fairness involved in this election and how it goes forward, right? So how do we do this, right? Well, is there people watching? Yeah, there is people watching out there. There's always people watching, and I'm gonna show you this real quick. This is about maybe 50 seconds long, but listen to this newscast that just came out here.
All new at 4, a 911 call about a potential election fraud has the Michigan State Police dispelling rumors about suspicious activity and voting machines.
It was on Monday night when a firefighter for Beaver Township in Bay County noticed activity inside the township hall at around 9:30 at night. Here is the dispatcher putting out information about his call.
When he arrived, there were 2 females. They were messing with the voting machines inside. They had the machines all opened up, and when he arrived, they started putting together.
This, of course, drew a lot of attention on where else? Social media. But Michigan State Police investigated and confirmed the 2 people in the hall were with the clerk's office. Investigators say they were conducting official business in preparation for the upcoming election.
So apparently on that story, they were those 2 officials that were in there that were actually prepping the machines and getting them ready, but they were doing it after hours, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. Are they paying them overtime for that? I want to know. I want to see their paycheck. Yeah, exactly, right? So, I mean, who do we trust? And can we trust people like that, you know, to make sure that we are getting an unbiased and an actually fair election? Man, it's just people, man. Sometimes you can trust them, sometimes you can't, man. That's just the way it is, you know. Down here in Texas, you know, we kind of like, we're always like, I know you're a good friend of mine, I love you, but I don't trust you. Yeah, that's just the way it is. You know, now these days there's a lot of shadiness, a lot of things going on behind the veil. Let's just put it to you that way. And who do you trust? And even though this election is as close as it's going to be, are we ever going to find out, right? This is my thing, man. Bring back the old booth, the little clicker, the click, 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 and then just pull the lever down, man. It gives me a nice count, nice number. Didn't have an issue with that, did we? At all. All they had to do was put some WD-40 or some oil in the cranker. It was almost like playing a slot machine, man. I know because I did one of those machines myself in my 20s, right? It worked just fine. If it ain't broken, don't fix it, man. Come on. Let's just, if this issue continues on happening, then let's go ahead and just save the taxpayer money, the $480 million, then $300 million, and another $78 million for 2 years. Let's just go ahead and save that. Pull out the old machines, the little hand crankers, bring them back, put them back in our hands, so that way, you know, we can make sure that this is going to be fair. And why do we have to wait another 2-3 days before we get numbers? If we got a freaking electronic device that's going to give us a number right then and there, it's like having a calculator in your hand. You got the answer. Why do we got to wait? Why is it got to be so far behind? I get it, a couple of hours late because, you know, time zones, yada, yada, yada. I get that, okay? An hour before, an hour after. Okay, we can wait a couple hours. But days? Come on now. Come on, Eddie May. What's love got to do with it, right? So, how do we figure this out, man? Who do we trust? Yeah, that's the thing. Is this going to be fair? It might. Will this person concede again if they lose? Or what if they win? What are we looking at here? Right? I think that everybody's going to be watching this election like a hawk. As far as the people are going to be watching people, the people are going to be watching the machines. You know, we're going to make sure that, you know, there's no fishy business going on out there as far as that. And, you know, how do we get the, you know, the actual numbers correct, the counters, you know, tabulations on these things, make sure everything's calculated right. You know, let's just, and if this starts getting too complicated, like it is for me right now, my brain just went into a freaking ball. You know, why complicate things? Let's just simplify this stuff. Bring back the old machine, man. Click, 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 boom, right? Just like the song. Bring it, click the little thingy down and pull down the handle. We got the number. We know who it is. That's it. Somebody tabulates it from the back. We already got the number. Right? How hard is that? No. We got to make it easier. Technology. Let's make it easier. Yeah, we see where that's going, right? We've seen how that's been going. Not very good. But I don't know. That's just me. That's just me. I hope everybody is actually, you know, being unbiased and just kind of listens to these candidates one-on-one and make sure that you make your decision on exactly what you're looking for as far as in a candidate and a president. Because remember, this person is going to represent the United States of America, right? And we have to be strong country in order to defend ourselves against tyranny or against any bad thing that's outside of the United States that wants to try to come in and change things, right? So let's just make sure that we're able to stand up as a people, as a whole. We the people. This is what this podcast is about. It's about we the people. And standing together as one, right? Regardless of which side you're on, be a patriot first, right? Be a patriot first for your country. Love your country first. Do politics later. Because this is the country of freedom. And you can make a really happy life here in this country compared to other countries where you're not allowed those freedoms, where everything gets taken away from you. So, you know, we have freedom of speech, freedom to carry a weapon, freedom of your liberties. You have justice freedoms. You have all kinds of things that goes into effect before you're even prosecuted, even if you're going to court about something. There is steps. Other countries don't have that. Nope, you're guilty. Go ahead and put them in the back, give them the bullet, shoot them, we're done. Charge the families for the bullet. This is how a lot of countries are out there, that we don't hear about it. This is not the United States of America, where you have a chance to prove yourself. These are the freedoms, and you got to make sure that whoever's going to stand up in front of this country, for this country, talking about a president, that you make the right choice that's going to hold the shield of liberty, the eagle shield in front of them, to protect the United States of America from any threat, foreign or domestic. Okay? This is what we're about. And we have to raise our military numbers back up. We are down 25% of recruiting. If you didn't know that, you do know that now. In other words, our military level, our people are in the military is down dramatically. Okay? So we got to make sure we get that going. As we salute America's military. Love all of you guys out there. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast and learned a little bit about voting machines, dominion, money, trust. I love that part. and about the people, learning about the people and how we stick together as we the people. All right, guys, I am the host of this show, Donald Ledesma. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow us on all these platforms. You'll see it on all my links at the bottom of this podcast. As soon as it's over, you'll see it says all my links. Click on there. Follow us on X, YouTube, Rumble. Follow us all over on audio, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify. Let's see, Apple. We're everywhere. You can even ask Alexa. I should play some what? America's Podcast. Play some America's Podcast. All right, guys. Have yourselves a good day. Remember, we the people, let's stick together as one. See you soon.